Okay, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, it's good to see you again. Welcome back to EECS 440. We are almost to the end of our first assignment, aren't we? When does that assignment due, you know?
Wednesday before class.
Wednesday, that's exactly right. If you say Wednesday at the start of class, that's technically 1 second off. You need to have your assignment submitted to Canvas before the start of class on Wednesday, okay? So before 1:30 p.m. If you look at the schedule, you can kind of see that. You can see where we are. You move your eyes down this left-hand column, and we highlight the current date in red for you. Move your eyes to the right. You can see that as we move down this schedule, we're getting more lecture documents. You can review anything we go over. You can find lecture slides, all that good stuff. You see yellow blocks, you move your eyes up, that's what you should be working on, okay? And the red blocks below it tell you what the deadline is. I think Canvas also should tell it to you, like on the side here. I think the students get a nice little like homework to do next kind of list, which is pretty cool. Yeah, hopefully not too hard as far as assignments go. I think Epic, Unreal Engine changed some of their UI a little bit, so some of the things you need to click on are a slightly different name. I adjusted the guide, the homework a little bit to try and be a little bit up to date. Hopefully, you aren't running into too many problems building software for your phone, okay? How many of you have completed Exploration AR? Okay, how'd it go?
Went pretty all right.
It's like, it's all right. You know, are you iPhone or Android?
Android.
Okay, Android is probably easier to build for. You don't have to deal with Xcode. Yeah? How'd it go?
I felt the same. It was kind of a pain getting the phone to connect to my laptop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Apple's primary IDE, Xcode, on Apple's own store has like a 2.9 out of 5 rating. Okay, Apple just said, okay? Xcode, for all of you using a Mac, for all of you with an iPhone, you're going to be using Xcode to deploy your projects to your mobile device. And you're going to find it looks very nice. It is a pain in the butt to use, all right? Something I want to note, this friction that you are feeling is a really big deal. When you are working at the bleeding edge, when you're working on new technologies, fledgling young technologies like XR, then you're going to find that things are a bit more frictionful than you might be used to. But that friction is going to do a couple interesting things. One interesting thing it's going to do is it's going to knock away your competition. Okay, where you find friction, you will find opportunity. And I'll talk a little bit more about that a bit later in lecture. But this is also to say, in these first couple weeks, I kid you not, our mission is to encounter those points of friction and figure out a way past them. Because you will be building stuff for your mobile device. You'll be interacting with Unreal Engine and VR and these hardware devices and all those accounts, those nasty accounts you have to log into. You're going to have to do all that in order to build your later projects. So getting good at this now, getting a bit faster at it now, figuring out what those little annoying issues and bugs are now is really going to help us when the stakes rise later. Okay, so just know that when you're pounding your head against your desk on these first few assignments, it's going to be worth it, okay? You are not just burning time. Okay, I want to show you something. I want to show you something that when I first saw it, I actually couldn't believe it was true. And actually, it made me a bit squeamish, okay? The idea that VR can be so powerful, so immersive, that actually, if we use it during surgery, we don't need anesthesia anymore. That's crazy, okay? Don't sign me up for that. That doesn't sound like it would work. But actually, it seems to be working. I want to show you this video right here. Pay attention to the patient, okay? What's happening to his hand, but also what is on his face and what he says. Let's take a look.
any situation at all. Patients will be relaxed by nice soothing scenes by the virtual reality. Have colleagues in emergencies also joint replacements. Okay, cierra la mano. Okay, ya mira el dedo del medio ya no se traba. Cierra. Okay, hasta la baja de los ojos. Okay, bueno, te vamos a dejar que tranquilizar de aquí. Está programado. La mano izquierda, hace poco tiempo. Pero está totalmente despierto, se da con la casa, puede comer sin ningún problema ni náusea así. ¿Cuál método es mejor para hacer? Señor Luis, ¿cómo fue con sin sedante? Hicimos una operación sin sedante, solamente la realidad virtual. ¿Cómo se sintió?
Me sentí muy bien, me gusta ese procedimiento porque no me duele mucho, me gusta dormir y es muy agradable.
Exacto, que habíamos operado la mano izquierda hace ¿cuánto tiempo?
Hace un año.
Hace un año y como compara los dos, en ese tiempo estaba básicamente como dormido.
Sí.
Y ahora y la mano derecha, manténgalo alto. Sí. ¿Qué diferencia?
Bueno, al terminar la operación, esta que quedó bien, pero me quedé dormido mucho tiempo y sentía cierto malestar, quizás. Y con esta no, ya cuando salí de salón, me sentía perfecto.
Y puedes comer inmediatamente.
When you mentioned VR in 2025, when you thought about the future of VR, when you thought about things like Ready Player One, okay? When you thought about gaming, when you thought about we're going to live in a metaverse, like this is probably the last thing you would think about when someone mentioned VR, okay? And yet, this weird, obscure application looks kind of promising, doesn't it? Right? So they talk about it a little bit in this video, and you kind of get it from the patient himself. But there are a few advantages to doing it this way. Can you name a couple? Just watching the video, what did you notice? What are some of the wins here? And a quick question. If someone is sleeping, can you talk to them as a doctor? Can you get feedback during the operation? Kind of a big deal, yeah?
It's directly from the video, but there's a lot of people who have complications or allergies to anesthesia.
Yeah.
Anesthesia, so
yeah.
This definitely helps get around that.
I was going to bring it up. Have any of you, does the name Monty mean anything to anyone in this room? A fairly famous animator, an indie animator, passed away far too early, in his early 30s, my age. When he had an unexpected allergic complication with some very standard anesthesia, very standard operation. Extremely sad, right? So a lot of risk is avoided, it turns out, if you can avoid anesthesia. You also, as you heard from the patient gets a number of hours of their life back. They don't have to spend that sleeping, the drowsiness, the after effects of anesthesia off. You also get the interactivity during the procedure that doctors, I'm sure, appreciate greatly. And this is going to be probably dramatically cheaper to manufacture than a bunch of anesthetic medication, right? And so you can reuse this, actually, just a bit of cleaning, and you can reuse the entire device. It's not consumed like the anesthesia actually is. There's some pretty big, obvious wins here if it works. So this is a company called Wide Awake VR. It's a company that's actually run by my friend Joe Go. And actually, I just looked at this morning for the first time in about a year. It looks like they just sold Wide Awake VR successfully to Wallant Surgical Solutions. I have never heard of this company. I have no idea how much money Joe and the team made, but I probably should email them and ask because I'm very curious. This startup used to have a really great video kind of showing off what the product is and why it exists. But hey, that's life. It was taken down. It's no longer available. It's a reminder that these companies we look at, these technologies we study, they are not a static thing. A lot of early concepts you study in computer science are static. People have been studying the data structures, the algorithms you learned in 281 and 280 for a very long time. But when you get into MDEs, capstones, upper level CS, the things when you get to industry, when you get to research, you'll find that things feel almost like quicksand. Things are moving constantly. And one of the best things you can get good at is moving along with them. Okay? This is just a tiny little thing to say. We encourage you to use Gen AI in this course, and it's for that reason. Okay, whether you like AI or not, right? However you feel about the interesting ethical debates that are happening in our society about Gen AI, it's important that you understand it, that you poke it, you prod it, you experiment with it, you understand what it's good at, why do people care about it, what's wrong with it. You need to get in there and you need to experiment. Okay. Anyway, so this company right here, so you can understand a little bit better, does Wide Awake VR manufacture this VR headset? Do they design the headset? No. This is referred to, it's something we'll see quite often. This is referred to as a white label headset. It's a headset that you buy. It doesn't come with any branding itself. And you stick your own branding on the end of it. In this case, I'll say, Joe, like you didn't work too hard on this one. This looks a little bit of a quick job, just slapping the sticker on the end here. But what this company does is they provide the software. They provide the software to integrate this device with other medical software that the doctor might be using. They also provide the content that is designed to try and immerse the patient however they need to be immersed, for however long they need to be immersed, and to be controllable easily by the doctor. So blah, 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 blah. Okay, this comes with a carrying case, a VR headset, again, white label, purchased by Wide Awake VR to be sold again to someone else, and a tablet, actually. I believe this allows the doctor to kind of remotely monitor how the patient is doing and communicate with them. Safer than sedation. More effective in anxious patients, fewer infections, more fun. It's kind of an interesting bullet point for like a medical device. Okay, it's kind of, less anxiety. Wait, didn't you already say that up here, right? Less pain, 30 to 60% less costly. And that's a really big one, right? Medical expenses are a very, very big thing, especially in the USA. And anything that can try and drive down prices, even in small ways, is possibly of interest. And so, right, how do you set it up? You turn on the tablet, you turn on the headset, you check the connection, put on the headset, and press play. It's simply that simple. Notice the kind of surgeries they say will benefit here: hand surgery, cosmetic surgery. I actually have no idea what podiatry is. Hold on. What is that? Podiatric. Okay, like lower body stuff. Dermatology, so skin stuff. Orthopedics, veins. All of these are not super invasive, super high stakes procedures. So if you think like we're going to be opening up your chest or heart surgery without anesthesia, probably not, okay? And that caveat, I think, makes all of this make a lot more sense. They have some partners. I think this is some of their clients, their patients, the companies that are using them already. How do they make money? How do we figure it out? That's actually really important. They make content. I believe, I don't know if they say it on here, often companies will kind of hide the pricing. Hey, there's Joe. Hello. I think they have a subscription, so a content fee. So you pay an upfront cost to get this kit, and then you pay an ongoing fee to fund the company to produce more content and to keep your device actually running. And so those are kind of how they make money. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this idea? If you had, $100 million and you had to invest that money in an XR startup, you have to invest the money to keep it growing, right? You don't have to do that. There's some easier ways to grow it at a slower rate, but you want to double your money, okay? You want to find the next big startup, the killer app for XR. Is this a company that you would invest in? They're asking for $10 million right now. You got $100 million. That's 10% of your pot. Okay, raise your hand if you're not quite feeling it. You're going to wait for the next company, maybe. Okay? The next company's not going to be very good. Raise your hand if you're feeling okay about this one, like you're interested. Right? I think it could definitely go either way. I like this company quite a bit. They actually, the thing I like most right here is this video. Some of the companies, the XR startups we're going to show you, their products are entirely theoretical. Entirely theoretical. They don't have real customers yet. They just have a pitch. This company doesn't have a lot of customers, it looks like, but they have some. Okay, and that was actually enough to get them purchased by a bigger company and get a big payday for the founders. So very excited for Joe and the team. Good stuff. Just a great example. They raised at least $250,000. Joe told me that they started Wide Awake VR and then the pandemic hit, and all the money, all the funding just dried right up. So I'm glad that they had a positive outcome from this company, even though things were looking bleak for a while. They're based right here in Ann Arbor, and I'm sure you could find Joe and hit him up on LinkedIn if you wanted to hang out or get some lunch or something like that. I'm sure he's a really, really cool guy. But a very novel use of XR, pretty socially impactful, right? You are helping lower medical costs. You're helping patients reduce the risk in their operations. Financial sustainability, right? You've got a subscription plan. So if you can get a lot of medical clinics using this software, you have a continuous supply of funding. And XR emphasis is a criteria we care about. Can this kind of thing be done with non-XR technology? Any ideas? Have you ever seen distraction technology in a medical or dental setting? Yes. What do you got? What have you seen?
I believe a lot of people do, not lots, but I've heard about people doing hypnosis and other sort of stuff.
Hypnosis? Interesting. Okay.
It's all hypnosis really is that is in and of itself is a form of distraction.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
okay.
Kind of similar to that.
Okay.
Taking your mind away from it.
Yeah, rock and roll.
There's a lot of dentist office which will put TVs.
Bingo. Yes.
When you look down, I put food videos on, which doesn't really work. But.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Dental offices will do that all the time. When I was young, I used to go in and they would sometimes have a little handheld, crappy little game player for me to mess around with. None of that was super engaging, but it was better than nothing. Right? So if we say, well, is Wide Awake VR, is it doing something that only XR can do? The answer is probably no. But it is doing it uniquely well because of XR. And so it's it's a decent score for XR emphasis. Y'all, these 4 criteria are exactly the criteria you're going to face when we get to that final project. And we're going to keep showing you companies like this briefly at the start of our lectures so you can kind of see what weird, unique ideas are out there, which companies are succeeding, and which ones are totally doomed, okay? And if I recall, the next company is, okay. They're making a go of it, but it's probably not going to go, all right? Okay, some announcements. Scott's Friday office hours have changed their timing. They are still Friday, but if you look, I think the hours are different. I think he announced this, but just a reminder, it's going to be 4 to 5 right in here. Okay? I was just in here. A reminder, Sundays. We've never had this crazy 3-hour block on Sundays before. So we're doing that. And I don't think, did I have any? Yeah, we had some 440 students in here. Yeah, last night. So make use of that time. Okay. Many of our assignments are due on a Wednesday in this course, but actually, I think when we hit P2, we're going to switch to more of a Monday deadline cadence. That's how most of my courses are. It's just so weird starting on a Wednesday this semester. In past semesters, we would start on a Wednesday, and I would have it be due on the following Monday. So the first 2 assignments, you only got 5 days. This is not meant to be an intense course. This is meant to be a little bit more chill than its siblings 494 and 498 and even 298. And this is the chill one of the family, I think. So we want to give you more time. That means we're staggered on Wednesdays for a while until that gets corrected. Okay? All right. Rock and roll. Okay. I'm going to show you something that is simultaneously, in my opinion, incredible. Talk about bleeding edge, brand new Gen AI technology, but also terrifying, okay? I'm going to show you this video. It's going to scare the pants off you, and then I'm going to tell you something that I think will calm you down, okay? Because I do have some experience with this technology, what it's really good at, and I guess thankfully for now, what it can't quite do. This is all to say humans still necessary. Diffusion models, okay? I'm going to show you, I actually have another video after I show you this. What you're going to look at is a very familiar sight. Have any of you played the game Doom? Have you ever heard of it before? Classic first-person shooter game. Popularized the most dominant genre in all of gaming. But what you're seeing here is not the actual Doom software. It's a generative AI model that was trained on the Doom gameplay for a long time. And now, as if a human recalling to you memories of what they played a few weeks ago, now we can actually get software to do that too. This is a real-time interactive recording of a Doom, an AI model trained on the Doom video game. And what you'll notice is that just looks like Doom. The AI model has kind of found a way to semi-replicate the intricacies of the Doom game engine and all that game design logic and maps and content. And now all you do is feed it inputs over time, and it kind of remembers how that game works. And you can kind of play through it and kind of replicate it. It's not perfectly consistent, but it is impressive. Very impressive, in fact. Now, this is really something, but actually recently we got a new paper, which is just crazy. And I'm going to show it to you. I don't have the link in this document for some reason, but it's in the 494 document. I showed them this morning. This is really spooky. Let's take a look. 2025 edition. Here we go. Okay. Hello. Sound, please.
Are not games or videos. What you're seeing are not games or videos. They're worlds. Each one of these is an interactive environment generated by Genie 3, a new frontier for world models. With Genie 3, you can use natural language to generate a variety of worlds and explore them interactively, all with a single text prompt. Let's see what it's like to spend some time in the world. Genie 3 has real-time interactivity, meaning that the environment reacts to your movements and actions. You're not walking through a pre-built simulation. Everything you see here is being generated live as you explored. And Genie 3 has world memory. That's why environments like this one stay consistent. World memory even carries over into your actions. For example, when I'm painted on this wall, my actions persist. I can look away and generate other parts of the world. But when I look back, the actions I took are still there. And Genie 3 enables promptable events, so you can add new events into your world on the fly. Something like another person, or transportation. or even something totally unexpected.
Okay. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, just how over is it for all of us? Yes. What do you think? Yes. An 8? Oh, man. I'm going to lower that to like a 5 in just a moment. Don't worry. What do you think? Why do you think it's an 8?
I mean, at first, like, I remember when, like, AI on Minecraft first came out, and, like, you look around and everything else was just, like, forget everything. And, like, now, like, the method is just generate, like, really super ones.
Yeah, it seems that every year a big new AI innovation comes out, but it has like a glaring problem. It's like, oh, no worries, it has this big problem. And then next year it's completely solved. It's like, uh-oh, we're running out of problems, right? So this is very impressively spooky, right? I really am excited to jump in and start playing around with this. I hope they can get it cost effective enough that people, just average people like us, can jump in and mess around with it. One thing that I tell my 494 students is that, EECS 494 or even EECS 440 in the year 2030 might not involve Unity or C# or Unreal Engine or Blueprint code or C++. It could just be us in front of Genie 3, typing prompts until we have something we're happy with, okay? Trying, maybe with some frustration, to get exactly what we want. But here's the thing. I've done some research projects with technology similar to this. In the past, I've had an undergrad team using machine learning techniques and technologies in order to create enemy AI that was going to be organic and learn how to defeat the player and be surprising, right? It was a humongous failure every time. It was never even remotely close to being usable. It was impressive, but it wasn't the kind of stuff you need for an actual, engaging, tailored, authentic, handcrafted experience. Let me tell you what happens with this kind of thing, okay? What happens is you can enter a prompt and get a really very impressive result, okay? But as your prompt gets more and more specific, it starts to break down. And it starts to struggle to hit exactly what you want. And that's a big, big problem. If you haven't made games, if you haven't made a lot of engaging VR or AR experiences, you don't realize just how precise you have to be in every element of an experience. The timing, the pacing. I recently released a game called Greek Tragedy on Steam. It did not do very well financially, but the people who play it seem to like it. And in those kind of experiences, you have to have perfect timing. The enemy AI has to do exactly what you need them to do to create a certain mood or emotion or experience. You need perfect timing because if the player looks the wrong direction or notices the wrong thing, it's kind of like having slightly off timing when you're a comedian delivering jokes, okay? You don't have to be a professional comedian to know that if you just mess with the joke's timing even slightly, it all falls apart. If you mess with the delivery even a tiny bit, everything shatters. And that is something that is going to be very hard for these impressive technologies to allow us to do. If you say to yourself, well, I want to be as precise as possible when instructing the AI what I want, do you know what that actually means? That means opening up Blender and selecting a vertex, one of a million in the scene, and moving it to where you want, okay? English cannot express enough information to fully describe a three-dimensional scene, okay? You can kind of paraphrase that scene. You can describe it as a high level, but you're gonna get an impressive scene that isn't quite what you want, okay? And you're gonna have to open that thing. You're gonna have to hope that Genie can export that scene in Blender so you can go in and actually fix it up and get what you actually want. Because it's gonna be impossible to describe with perfect English, probably, okay? Anyway, that is what gives me a little bit hope that there will probably, for at least a long time, be a human required. And when I am feeling optimistic and hopeful, this technology seems like something that will magnify humanity instead of replace it. That's scary in some other ways, because if you magnify a human enough, you will need one human on the team instead of 10. That causes some difficult labor dynamics and employment situation stuff. But hopefully, at least this makes you a little bit more optimistic that we won't be wholesale replaced soon. At least I hope not. We'll see. I could be wrong. All right. Let's... And that's what I've been seeing in all the studios I've gone to. I went to a bunch of Chinese studios over the summer. I've seen some American studios recently as well. The hardcore teams are using these generative AI tools to generate references, not to really generate final product art that goes into the product, because they can never get it exactly what they want. They generate a bunch of AI art pieces to help the actual human artist understand what the creative director has in their mind. And then the artist, the actual human artist, goes in and gets exactly what the creative professional wants. Okay? All right, anyway, hopefully that makes you a little bit less spooked, okay? All right, and again, yes, final announcement. It may sound kind of funny, but the point of these first 2 weeks of the course is to encounter the friction inherent in bleeding edge technology, okay? Unreal Engine is bleeding edge, especially when you're using VR with it. It is going to crash. You're going to run into weird issues that other devs don't have to deal with. When you go to build for your mobile device, how many of you have done that, before this class? You built an app for your mobile phone. Let me tell you, there are so many things that can go wrong. Oh my goodness. Okay, you all have different mobile phones. You have different operating systems on those mobile phones. Xcode decides whether it wants to work, whether it's Tuesday or Thursday or not. All right, you're going to run into a lot of issues that are not the kind of issues you run into when you're just doing normal software dev. And so part of these first 2 weeks is to encounter friction and then to find a way past it so that we can do things that other people would give up on. All right. So again, when you hit that friction, fight through. It's going to be worth it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I've got some fun stories for you in just a bit. Let's talk about some course logistics. All right. I'm going to show you one of my favorite clips. Anyone remember SpongeBob? Okay. A pretty big part of pop culture at this point. A lot of people don't watch the episodes, but they do see the memes. Oh my goodness, no longer available. No way. What? They terminated it? I just watched this video this morning. What? Did I get it terminated? I don't think so. All right, hold on just 1 second. We have the 494s coming in for us here. Let's go to 494 course logistics. Has the same starting, actually. Here we go. Okay, here we are. It can often feel like this kind of situation when logistics get messy. And certainly when I was an undergrad, some of my courses felt a bit like this. Our mission today is to make sure this doesn't happen. Make sure that you understand the course, what its structure is, and so the surprises just won't be there. A question for you, and this is a little bit of an experience design thing, a little bit of game design thing. Why don't we cover the syllabi on the first day of lecture? First day of lecture, it's syllabus week, right? That's what you do. You talk about the late policy on the first day of class, right? Right? Why do you not want to do that? Why does no film begin with 20 minutes of the main characters just kind of sitting down and talking about the world and what's going on? That never happens. Films don't start that way. How do films usually begin? Think about the last film you watched. Yes?
Typically, I see like a nice cold opening where it just immediately throws you into the action to I guess immerse yourself into the world immediately.
Yes,
as
bingo.
opposed to just being told.
Yes, this is referred to as the hook. Okay? In general, you cannot deliver information to an audience effectively unless that audience has been engaged by something. Unless you have hooked the audience, you can't deliver the dry stuff. So how do you hook them? You give them the fun stuff. All right? There's a reason the very first lecture in this class is full of video footage and cool applications of AR and VR, full of stories, full of some jokes, making fun of Mr. Zuckerberg, my poor former boss. Like he's had kind of a wild ride, hasn't he, the last few years? Right? Rename his company, build Ready Player One, watch it fail, jump into AI late, get a new haircut. He looks very different than he used to. Anyway, the reason is you want to hook people, okay? And I'm not just talking about from a lecture design perspective or a film design. I'm talking about your apps as well. If you make a VR or AR app, right, you want that first impression to be really exceptional so that you can then deliver the dry but important stuff a little bit later and you won't lose people. So now that's what we're doing today. Lectures, you already have a feel for them. Oh wait, this is the 494 one. We needed that 494 backup for the video, but now we're past it. Okay, so lectures, right? It's going to be 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. You already kind of know that on Mondays and Wednesdays. We're going to have kind of two different kinds of lectures in this course. Standard lectures, where we're going to be talking about history of XR and VR and AR theory. We're going to talk about how to build kind of engaging interactions. We're going to share a lot of stories with you, stories of various companies that have had success, stories of former students and stuff like that, industry stories. But we'll also, especially early on, we're going to have a lot of lectures that are very implementation heavy, okay? They're more like workshops. They're going to involve us coding together. When I say coding together, you're basically just going to be watching me code, and I'll be kind of talking you through why we make certain decisions with our architecture. What do we gain from the decisions that we make? How do you think about Unreal Engine and Unity and what you're doing inside of them? We're going to be doing low-level technology. We'll also be doing some higher-level architectural, like design pattern work. I hope you look forward to that. One of the most useful design patterns in all of game dev and simulation, the affordance interaction design pattern, is one we're going to implement during Project 1. We're going to do it together so you can follow along and then use it on your homeworks. We will, toward the end of the semester, have lectures that are dedicated to playtesting, where you will have your apps ready to go and available, and other people will use them right in front of your face. And you'll discover what problems you have, okay, from a usability perspective. It is really... You don't realize how hard it is to make something intuitive until you have to take your game or your app and put it in front of someone, and they just, you want to rip your hair out because they're not clicking on that one button. I put that button right there. Why aren't they clicking on it? They have to click on it, right? I made it red even, right? And they just don't do it. So figuring out how to guide your player, guide your user through whatever experience you're creating is a very big deal in game design, but also in XR development. We may have some guest lectures this semester as well. We'll see. And the schedule, a quick reminder. Our schedule, we've got 15 weeks. We're going to start just by exploring, right? The first 2 weeks, you're just kind of getting used to or getting back into VR and AR. Tonight, we're going to have our final big HoloLens session. So if you haven't gotten selfie with the HoloLens headset yet, you need that for your first homework, Exploration AR. And so you'll have a chance to have fun with the HoloLens tonight. Really exceptional devices. They're very limited, but man, is it magical when you use them for the first time and you reach out and you can kind of physically feel that digital object. It shouldn't really be possible, but it's really pretty interesting. So we're going to spend 2 weeks on this exploration of AR and VR. Pretty fun 2 weeks, in my opinion. And then we're going to spend 3 weeks on VR and Unreal Engine, 3 weeks on AR and the Unity engine. And then we're going to spend our final few weeks, probably not this many weeks, because we give you a gap week between them, but you'll have about 4 to 5 weeks to build whatever app you want with either Unity or Unreal, either AR or VR, okay? And then hopefully that's enough to get you jobs. We have quite a few students at Niantic, actually. I think that they're like the #1 place that has taken my students. I think we have like 7 or 8 of them there now. So pretty cool. And then these are the projects, right? So exploration, but tutorial assignments are going to be a little bit more involved. You're going to be making some interactive elements and stuff like that. Next week, your first project, VR, your second project, a Pokemon Go clone, AR, and then that final project, hopefully some sort of socially impactful, larger project. Going to have a bigger team for that, probably 3 or 4 people, okay? The schedule can be found on Canvas. It's fairly easy to read. Lecture plan slides, assignment links, deadlines. Green means you're starting the assignment at 1:30 that day. Yellow means you should be working on something, so be careful. And red means it's due before 1:30 that day. There are some missing elements on this schedule. It doesn't tell the full story. How we will grade you is visible publicly in Canvas. If you go to the assignment page, you can see the rubric that we're going to fill out to give you points or withhold points. So if you want to know exactly how you're going to be graded on something, then you can go there and check that, okay? We recommend you do so. Some policies. Sometimes when I was an undergrad, I would get into a course and I would see an extra credit assignment. It would be like, oh, Austin, like this extra credit is like 32 points. That sounds like a lot, right? 32 points. Oh, right. For an extra credit assignment. Wow. But then I would do the calculations and like there would be something like 100,000 points in the course overall. Okay? Or something crazy like 77, 1,600, 100. And, yeah, I don't know. But in this course, it's quite easy, okay? There are about 1,000 points in the course, so you can do the math really quick, and you can know whether something's going to be worth your time or not. These tutorials and explorations in the first couple weeks are quite a big chunk of points, and they're fairly easy to get these points as well. So make sure you get them. It will give you kind of a hard floor as you work toward the A. Culture assignments are also an easy 10% right there. What on earth are those? Wait a second. Have we opened up the first culture assignment yet? Let me see here. When is it? On Wednesday, we're going to introduce your first culture assignment. So I will go ahead and refrain from telling you what those are for now. Your first project is a bit more valuable, about 150 points split across 3 weeks. Your second project, much the same. Your final project is a big chunk, 375 points. One really nice thing is that these big blocks of points are not just a big block. Each of these projects are broken up into quite a few weekly deliverables. So you don't have to worry about, at the very end, I'm going to get the full block or less. No, as time goes, as we progress through the project, you'll start to rack up points for that project based on the kind of intermediate assignments that are in that project. I think homework 3 has like 6 or 7 assignments in it, or project 3. And what's more, the point values of these assignments go up as you advance through a project. This is to say that if you mess up things early, it's okay. As long as you're doing a good job by the end of a project, you're going to get a lot of the points in the project. This course is very much designed for you to make mistakes early and recover late. If you really have a bad grade in this course, and almost everyone messes up at least one assignment pretty badly, you can absolutely recover. There's a good bit of extra credit in the course, and there's a lot of points on the board until the very end. So don't get too distraught if something goes poorly for you in this course. You can always come to office hours. We will help give you perspective and context, which always helps. Okay? Participation. Do not freeload on your team members on projects. Okay, that is the big way that you lose these. This could go negative if you get a participation penalty. But in general, in this course, you want to be contributing, around the same amount that your team members are. If they're going crazy and doing just a ton of work, you don't have to go crazy yourself. But please do not be a freeloader in this course. We do have ways to discover this. And if you do need to lean on your teammates at any point, you get sick, you have interviews, stuff like that, make sure your teammates know and make sure you come to a deal. Maybe you lean on them this week and you'll cover a bit more next week. All right? Good stuff. Extra credit, there are opportunities throughout the course, quite a few, especially toward the end, and they don't affect the curve. This is not a curved course. The target median grade is an A-. I've never hit that because my students do a great job and they always get an A for the most part, okay? And so this is definitely a course where if you put the time in and you handle your deadlines half decently, you're going to get that A, okay? In fact, I'm getting a bit nervous. I'm going to get a talking to. My students are doing such a good job. I think the average is very close to an A+ in this course. All right? So do the best you can. If you're in trouble, reach out right away. But otherwise, this isn't meant to be a very scary course. I don't think it is one. But don't underestimate the assignments either. We want to do impactful things, and that will never come easy. All right? Collaboration policy, you are allowed to use external assets in the course. You're allowed to download models. You're allowed to download textures, music, sound effects, all that good stuff. We generally don't want you downloading a bunch of code, but in small quantities, you're welcome to do that. You're welcome to go online and search for examples. Do not copy and paste code from one of your peers' projects. Homeworks, okay? You are allowed to talk about your homeworks and your approach to them with your friends in the course, but do not explicitly just take their stuff. Otherwise, you're going to show up in the cheat detection software we have, and that's going to be not so fun, okay? In terms of collaboration, you can always discuss general course concepts. You can discuss assignments. You can discuss nodes, functions, ways to do things, all good. You can look at each other's code if you want to. Just don't copy and paste it. Don't email your project to a friend of yours, unless you are on the same team. You can share code that exercises general concepts. Please do not copy and paste assignment-specific code. And please don't use external assets. Don't download something from the internet without writing in a little credits.txt file. Just put the link in there. Let us know kind of what you used from the internet, and you'll be fine, okay? And please don't download entire projects from external sources. We've seen most of the big projects you can just yoink from like the Unreal Marketplace store, and it's going to be really obvious if you do that. So yeah, don't do that, all right? If you didn't create it, we want to know about it. Please go ahead and create a credits.txt in your projects. We'll remind you of this when the projects come around, but just anything really to kind of help us understand what you made and what you didn't and where we can find it. The question that you've all been wondering since the first day of class, can you use Shrek in this course? Can you? The answer is yes. Oh yeah. There we go. This is very different from my other courses. In EECS 494, it's a little bit more of an intense course, and the games you make, we put out a little bit more often. In this course, we are much more relaxed. It's a more chill experience, I think, and we want you to have some fun. In this course, you are allowed to use characters regardless of the license. You're allowed to use assets regardless of their license, except on the very final project, which is our main publicly facing project. So you might not have DreamWorks permission to use Shrek, but we don't care in this course. You can download him and get him in if you want. In fact, a lot of the fun of Project 1 comes from the NPC characters and deciding who is going to be in your recreation of the laboratory. Okay? Yeah, it can be very, very fun. This is something you want to be careful of once you graduate, because if you do this kind of thing on an actual commercial, professional, public-facing project, you can run into some issues. In 2019, there was a big hubbub, a very funny hubbub, when an official United States government website released a kind of EPA environmental education game. But the contractors who made the game, they yoinked a music track from the Nintendo game Yoshi's Island for DS. And Nintendo was like, what are you doing? Uncle Sam, what are you doing? Okay, you should not be doing that. And they had to quickly go and pull down the game and remove the music and then put it back up. It was embarrassing, okay? In worst cases, you can get sued and lose a lot of money for doing this kind of thing. All right, so a quick spiel on licenses if you don't know what I'm talking about. When you go to a GitHub repo, you've probably seen something like this before. You can see that there's this view license button in the top right corner, and many repos have a file that goes like license.txt. If you open up a file like that, if you look into it, you'll see it's a big chunk of like legal jargon. Many of these licenses actually don't say all that much. I think this license says you can do anything you want with this software, but you can't sue us, okay? And that's a very common thing in even the most permissive licenses. You can do whatever you want except for sue us. If you go to open source projects like OpenVPN, OpenCV, sometimes they'll even say what license they use. The BSD license that OpenCV describes is a very permissive license. And so a lot of companies and projects like to use it. You can actually read what it is by just Googling it and then reading what it allows you to do and what it doesn't want you to do. Okay? Pretty simple stuff. If you're looking for royalty-free public domain assets that are super safe to use just about anywhere, there are a lot of sites these days, a lot of websites that have a lot of great assets. OpenGameArt.org is one of them. This is a place you can find audio, music, sound effects, models, all sorts of stuff, textures, and it even lists what the license is. Public domain. That means Wild West, do whatever you want with that thing. Okay? But for our purposes, you also have freesound.org, sketchfab.com, a great 3D model website. That's the EECS 298 website of choice. Unity Asset Store, Unreal Engine Marketplace, AmbientCG.com for textures. Super, super good stuff on AmbientCG.com. Lots of great surfaces for creating nice surfaces, right? And Pixabay for good royalty-free 2D images. Participation in this course. Do you need to attend every lecture? The answer is no. Do you need to attend on time? No. The lectures are all recorded. They're streamed to twitch.tv. That means you can get them on twitch.tv right away. You can watch them as they happen on twitch.tv. We may have people right now on twitch.tv watching and commenting. Now, I can't see your live messages because I don't have twitch.tv up to read them. That's one of the reasons coming to lecture in person is, a decent idea. But you can then watch all the lectures later on YouTube because we back them up as an archive. So one of the things typically at the start of class, but actually it's right before class. You can check Canvas and Piazza. Sometimes an assignment will be due at a slightly different time because of a break. For instance, I think spring break, we don't have it due during spring break. We have it due at midnight the day before it officially starts, I think. Late penalties are pretty simple. They do exist. If you submit something that Canvas marks as late, then it's going to be 24 hours. Within 24 hours, under 24 hours late, it's going to be 20%. After that, we won't grade it at all, okay? So you really don't want to turn things in late in this course. It's one of the only big ways that people lose a lot of points and risk not getting that nice shiny A or A+ at the end of the semester. This is a Python program implementing our late policy. It's very, very simple. And the official timekeeper is Canvas. A quick note, some of your deliverables are going to get pretty big. They could be even a gigabyte in size. Some of those Unreal Engine projects are beefy. So it might take 10 minutes, depending on the Wi-Fi connection you're on. It might take 10 minutes to upload to Canvas your project. Well, if you start too late, then you might upload it, and by the time it finishes uploading, Canvas marks it as late, and we're going to listen to Canvas, okay? We don't care about when you started your upload. So, my recommendation, even if you're not completely finished, submit your stuff early. You can submit as many times as you want, and you can always tell us to grade an earlier submission if you accidentally go over time and don't want to deal with that late penalty. If you have a disaster, right? If, Canvas isn't working for me, right? My power went out, so I couldn't upload. You will only get excused and extended if it was really outside of your control and it was a disaster for everyone. So a widespread outage. Okay? If it only affected you for whatever reason, we're going to ask why you didn't upload earlier when things were more stable. Should have done your safety submit. Okay? AI policy. New slide for this semester. What to do about AI, what to do. AI is a very interesting, spicy, contentious topic. There are a lot of interesting debates in our society about the ethics of using AI, but that is not an excuse to ignore AI, and you need to be poking it and experimenting with it. You need to understand this thing, because it is quite the beast, all right? We encourage it in this class as a learning tool. It feels like the most genuine and impactful and probably ethical use for AI today. Use it as an advanced search engine. In the past, you would Google an API. In order to figure out what nodes are available in Unreal Engine, what functions are available in Unreal, you'd have to Google. But now we can do something like this, UMGPT. Let's go to it. Oh, I gotta log in? What? Let's, hold on a second. Can I just copy the link and then go to, let's see, here we go. Here we go, nice. All right, let's see here. Hey GPT, I am in Unreal Engine 5, and I am trying to figure out how I can move an actor in my map every single frame a certain amount in a certain direction. I am trying to use only blueprints, so I need some blueprint nodes to look up and try with. Any ideas? How many of you, when you're interacting with GPT, this is about the length and specificity that you tend to ask questions with, right? The more detail you use in these queries, the more specific you are about your situation and what you're trying to accomplish and what technologies you'd like to use and what you want from GPT, the better results you're going to get. A lot of people report getting really poor results out of GPT. I've never had that problem, but I tend to be extremely specific about what I am using. And, you often want to follow up as well. Let's submit this and just see what they say. I have a feeling they're going to offer certain nodes. Let's see here. Okay, let's go to the very top. Great question. Moving an actor every frame in Unreal 5, blueprints, classic technique. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Here's some steps. Use the event tick node. Exactly correct. Exactly what I would tell you. Use the event tick node. This happens every frame. It allows you to run some custom logic of your own design every frame. You'll generally use this in your actor's blueprint, like a custom actor or a pawn. If we go into a blueprint, we're going to see it right away. Calculate the movement. Okay, a vector, multiply direction. Let me see. Do they give us the node? Use the node, multiply a vector by float. I'm fairly certain that does exist. Get actor location. That is definitely a node. And you can set actor location. This is pretty good stuff. Now, one tough thing with Unreal Engine is that we are programming in a visual programming language. And unfortunately, GPT is really only a textual, feedback input-output system. It can generate images, but probably isn't going to be so good for showing us what our blueprint could look like. This will be much more useful when we get to Unity, but it's still pretty useful. At least it can kind of tell us what nodes exist, so we can grab them quickly and experiment with them right away. So pretty good stuff. But my warning to you is that you don't want to become overly reliant on GPT or an AI assistant. Why? Well, GPT tends to struggle the larger your code base gets. And there will come a point when GPT lies to you or gives you an incomplete idea, and you will have to fill in the gaps with your own knowledge. You'll have to experiment and combine things. So when you use an AI assistant, use it as a learning tool, not a project skip tool that just finishes the thing for you. When you are confused, ask it questions. Drill down. Why did you make this decision? Are there any alternatives? What is going on in Unreal Engine? I'm seeing this bug that looks like this. I wanted this. I'm using these nodes. What could be happening? And you will get very, very good results out of GPT that don't just help you solve a problem. They help you understand how to solve the problem. There's a very big difference between those two things, okay? In the game engine architecture course, I'm going to give the same spiel, but for them, the situation is truly high stakes. It is truly dire. You can use AI assistants to build parts of your game engine from scratch. It's reasonably good at that, but you don't have it on the exam. The exam is pencil and paper. It's been very interesting. As our technology gets vastly better, I've noticed the exams in our department are going back to the Stone Ages, okay? Because those classic techniques for examinations are still a very good way of figuring out whether the human can do certain things or not. So very interesting. And there's a debate currently about how we're going to deal with AI being embedded in glasses. Because we can tell you to keep your phone in your pocket or not bring it to the exam. We can't tell you to not wear your prescription glasses. And if it happens to have AI embedded in it, it's like, oh, do I need to duct tape the cameras or something? Do I need to start bringing sticky notes and duct tape to my exams? It's kind of an interesting question, isn't it? If you didn't know, the AI has been something of a steamroller in the world of education. It is a huge disruptive factor. It is chaos, and chaos tends to cause a lot of pain, but it also creates really interesting, engaging, weird, fun times in wherever it shows up. So right now, the world of education and academia is a really crazy place. I am so glad my courses are not based on essays. We do have some of them in my courses typically. They're usually reflections, kind of low stakes. Most of the students really like them. They're quite fun to reflect on previous projects and stuff. My goodness, I have no idea how you teach a high quality, impactful, authentic English course in 2025. Every paper you grade, you're wondering whether the student wrote this or not. You're trying to figure out whether the student maybe did write it with AI. But if they wrote it with AI, did they use the AI to skip the assignment, or did they actually learn with the AI to where they're actually a genuinely better writer now? One of those I think is fantastic. The other is a disaster. I can see a model. Sorry, this is one of my tangents, I guess. But what would you do in this case? You're an English teacher. You're trying to teach your students how to write very compelling essays and arguments. Well-structured, good grammar, very clear, uses evidence properly. How would you deal with the AI situation? I'm curious. Do you have any ideas? I've got an idea. You're not going to like it. Yes?
I'd say, if I'm not trying to avoid using AI, just acknowledging that people will use it.
Yes.
I think a really good thing to do is just let students write. They don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about the flow of it.
Okay.
Because that way you can kind of just see it's a rough draft.
Yeah.
Kind of your thoughts.
Yep.
I think people are less likely to use AI for something like that because
Yes.
it's pretty easy to do.
Sure. Yep.
And then just kind of show iterations
Okay.
of that, and
Yes.
I guess that's just a little bit easier to catch kids.
I think it's a really good idea. I'm a little bit concerned about the idea that a big reason that writing is hard is because you don't have any opinions or ideas on the topic you're meant to cover. Usually this is because you have not consumed a lot of material on the topic. You haven't spent time thinking about it. You haven't read the textbook pages you're supposed to read. And you can get AI to come up with those ideas for you so that you don't have to know anything about the topic or form your own opinions. So that approach doesn't fix that problem. But I think it'd be cool to let's write a version of our paper, free form, and then let's look at how the AI rewrites our essay to give it better grammar and structure. That would be really interesting. Here's an idea for you. We will not be doing writing on our own anymore. The writing you will do is going to be in examination format every 2 weeks. You're going to show up to the lecture hall. I told you wouldn't like it. You're going to have a pencil and a piece of paper, and you're going to rock and roll, okay? You're going to get feedback on your essay and how you did. And in a way, that kind of feels like hardcore, almost ACT or SAT prep, like exam prep, right? Because that's how it happens on those exams, and that's how they make sure the exam is kind of authentic, right? That would be a way to get past it. That'd be deeply unpleasant, wouldn't it? We'll see what happens. The takeaway from this tangent, I don't really love to do tangents. I do them a lot, but hopefully there's a takeaway, something relevant to you from all of them. When new technology shows up, often the genie's out of the bottle, okay? And what becomes important is thinking about how you will adapt to that disruption. How do you make the technology still work? And if you ignore the technology, AI is this scary, unethical thing. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of it. I don't want to think about AI. It's going to ruin my career prospects. Okay, I'm going to pretend AI doesn't exist. If you ignore a disruptive technology, you're already dead. You're gone. Okay, you're finished. But if you at least study that disruptive technology, you don't have to like it at all. You don't have to use it that much, but you do really want to understand it. You may find ways to adapt to it. You might find really clever ways to do so. And if you're one of the first to find a really clever way to use or get around the new technology, to adapt to it, that's where big business comes from, big startups. That's where PhD papers come from. All right? That's where fame comes from. No one gets famous being the, 1/1,000,000th person to make a Unity indie game in the platformer genre. But when a new technology comes out like XR, people rush into it. The brave rush in as fast as they can because they know in a year or two, it's going to be flooded. All right? And this is my chance to get in there when things are tough, when things are spooky, and try and find something really innovative that no one's done yet. All right? Okay, so I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. Resources, right? In this class, we got a lot of office hours for you. One big reason we have so many for you, despite having only 2 people on the staff, very small staff, is that in this semester, we're considering all of my office hours to be fungible. What does that mean? Well, it means that the office hours for EECS 494 are now yours. The office hours for EECS 498 are now yours as well. Any student of mine this semester can come to any of my office hours for any course and can use them, okay? That means when you show up to the big Sunday marathon block from 8 to 11 p.m., you might see some 494 students and some 498 game engine architecture students in there as well. Usually not that many, though. And so you can use all 3 hours instead of just 1. It's a pretty good time. That's not the case with Scott's office hours. His are only for you, okay? So you won't find any other students at those. All right, make use of these office hours as much as you can. We can often speed you up and solve problems much faster. Don't burn 5 hours on a problem that with a tiny bit more knowledge that we could give you, you could solve in 5 seconds. Very often, when you come to office hours, students will come to me, say, Austin, like I've been burning, I burned like 3 hours on this horrible bug. And then I'll walk over and I'll notice that they didn't check a checkbox in the corner of the screen. And they check the checkbox, the bug is gone, and boom, all right? They burnt like 3 hours on a 3-second problem because there was a tiny bit of missing knowledge. And our job is literally to help fill that knowledge for you, that gap. So anyway, office hours. Check Canvas to find out when those are. Here's the chain of help in this course. Spend 15 minutes trying to solve a bug or problem yourself. Experiment. Poke and prod the problem. Try a few different things. Google for it. Ask your AI assistant for help. But after that 15-minute timer is up, post to Piazza or Discord, and then work on something else. It will save your sanity. It will keep your spirit up. Your mental state will stay strong. Your energy will stay strong. And you won't burn a bunch of time on a problem that someone else could probably solve for you really quick. okay? If you've taken 482, the operating systems course, this is the equivalent of spinning up a background thread so that your main thread can go do something else, all right? The background thread will work on it, and then when it has a solution, boom, the main thread reattaches to it, and you're done, okay? Save a lot of time that way, have good throughput. Attend office hours if you can, or if you're bored. If you want to talk about the XR or games industry, I'd be happy to do that. Want to talk about career advice, look at your resume portfolio, I will do that as well. If you want private correspondence with us, you can email me, aarger@umich.edu. You can also email xrcoursestaff@umich.edu. Piazza also gives you private correspondence as well, and you can also DM me on Discord. That's very easy to do as well. Community has a lot of knowledge, okay? There are a lot of people in this community that have Unity and Unreal and game dev and XR knowledge. ARI, Alternate Reality Initiative, the XR club on campus. They do a tremendous job. They've got lots of great tutorials. They've got a lot of great people that know a lot about these technologies. Might be able to help you out if you have a problem or give you good advice. Wolverine Soft, the game dev group on campus. A lot of overlap between XR and game dev, tremendous amount. That's why I teach both of it. And Wolverine Soft can help you as well. They've got weekly meetings. IGDA Ann Arbor, the monthly local professional game dev group, has a lot of people from different universities coming together once a month, okay? I think you get some extra credit by attending that last one. All right, health. If you start to feel like things are falling apart, you feel frustrated, you feel like you just don't have enough time in the day, and the whole situation is just turning south, then you really need to reach out, okay? No pride. This shouldn't be a pride thing. Reach out. CAPS is a service, a dedicated mental health service on campus. I've heard they're really good, but it's a little bit hard to schedule them. You can always reach out to your instructors, your staff, your course staff. We have taught a lot of students. I've been teaching for about 10 years now. I've seen a lot of students, the problems that you run into, the ways to get around those problems. I've seen a lot of techniques work, and I can give you a lot of context. When you get that big, fat, ugly 0 on your canvas, and it says you got an F, oh no, right? It's devastating. We can give you context. We can help you understand the many options you've got to recover from those kind of challenges. If you are running out of time in the day, the deadlines just keep creeping up on you, we could talk about ways to be more efficient with your time. We can give you the context that you don't have to get every point in this course. I kid you not, a really great thing to do on P1 and P2 is skip some tasks. Just literally say, you know, this is a hard thing for UMich students because you're all perfectionists and so am I. But you can literally say, hey, I got extra credit coming toward the end of the course. I've been filling out the feedback forms on the assignments. I'm going to skip that part of the homework. No big deal. Just do it. All right? Do the math. And if it's no big deal for you, then skip it. You're not going to hurt my feelings at all. The EECS 440, rule number 1, communicate. We can't help you with problems we don't know about. So please, if anything in the course is making you uncomfortable, if you are having too many late nights, you don't feel healthy, got to bring this up to us right away, okay? It is literally our job to help you have a good experience in this course and learn a lot. It's going to be fatiguing. It's going to be tough. It's not the toughest course, but we want to do impactful, important things, and that never comes cheap. So when that struggle starts to get a bit too much, make sure you let us know about it, okay? I think generally, though, this course isn't that big of a problem for most students. But if it is a problem for you, then let us know right away, okay? It happens to anyone, okay? Ask me during office hours sometime. I can tell you about some of the academic struggles I had, okay? I think my worst exam grade ever was like a 16 out of 100. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, let me tell you about that sometime. I'll let you guess which course that was in. It's in a course I think all of you have taken, all right? And they still let me teach here. Is that amazing or what? All right, rock and roll. Anyone have any questions about anything, any of this stuff? Let's take our 5-minute break. We'll try and do a 5-minute break about midway through each lecture, let you walk around, get some rest, and use the restroom. Let's come back in 5 minutes. I'll turn the music on, and we're going to talk about this fantastic Viz Studio and how to use the resources in here really well. We have some really fun stories for you, so hopefully we have enough time for that. I will see you in 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, let's get back into it. So the visualization studio, right? The space that we are currently in is actually an extremely unique space. And it's kind of difficult to realize that, right? You go to a university, you tend to not, for instance, head over to MSU and check out their space, or nearby EMU even, and check out their spaces. But what you have here with all of these devices, all of these machines, I think we said it the first day, how expensive are these MetaQuest Pro devices right in front of you? You know, I think part of your first homework is kind of looking that up. Yeah. Yeah, $1,500. Okay, not cheap at all. And these machines that they're connected to, I think most of them have RTX 4090 graphics cards in them, which if you haven't looked at the pricing in a while, I think those are easily $1,000+ per card. And so this is a space that many people can't even get one of in their homes, let alone create a laboratory with, I think, about 30 of them in this room. A question, how many of you plan to use this Viz Studio for some of the assignments, right? Some of the VR stuff. I ask because some people have VR headsets at home, right? You can theoretically do all of this course from home if you have the right hardware. But this really is kind of an unusual situation. It's different than what you might be used to. When it comes to the world of software, we are extraordinarily lucky. Okay, if you talk to, how many of you have like aerospace friends or chemical engineering friends, right? Mechanical engineering friends. Your friends in aerospace engineering can't just go and make their own airplane now, right? For free or for cheap, right? Your chemical engineering friends can't just order a bunch of chemicals to their house to experiment at their will at any time, all right? If they want to do that kind of stuff, they have to be a little bit more, under the radar about it. And so when you think about software engineering, when you think about computer science, this is one of the very few super impactful engineering fields that has such a low barrier to entry. If you want to do EECS 281, what do you need? Well, you need a modest computing device. Something like a Chromebook even might be able to do it if you install Linux. What else exactly do you need? An internet connection? Well, that's free Wi-Fi. Just go to the local library or go to campus or even a Starbucks. And that's it. That is it. That is obscene. Okay? We can build entire companies, and startups have been built in a garage with a crappy laptop. And that's never really been a thing before in most of human history. If you compare this to other engineering disciplines like mechanical engineering, aerospace, chemical engineering, we need enormous facilities and very expensive assets and materials and equipment to do those kind of experiments in those disciplines. And that makes those disciplines just kind of inherently a bit inaccessible. It really is a beautiful thing what we can do, right? We don't need our own wind tunnel to do experiments. We just need a laptop. That's it. Not even a very good one. So we have perhaps the most accessible field in all of engineering. You can achieve true impact with very little in our field. But in this class, that is inverted. It's no longer true. When you say we're going to do VR and AR, we are integrating hardware in a way that most other CS classes don't really bother with. They don't need to. VR and AR is a departure for most programming. When you do this kind of programming, you actually need access to expensive and very particular specialized equipment. VR headsets. You also can't really use these headsets willy-nilly. You need a lot of space. If you own your own headset, have any of you purchased a headset for just home usage? You know that you need to have an open room. You have to have a spare room in your house in order to make that really a good experience And yeah, real estate kind of pricey these days, okay? A spare room is not something that you just come by every day of the week. Even AR, augmented reality, sometimes needs certain lighting setups. Sometimes you need really recent, very recent mobile devices to get a high quality result. And so, right, especially with Apple, Apple, if you have an iPhone, you cannot make apps for that device that you own unless you buy another expensive Apple product, a MacBook, okay, or a Mac Mini or a Mac Studio. Apple's quite a pain in this regard. This course has friction that you may not have felt for a while. It has startup costs. It has requirements. You have to engage with hardware just to do some basic programming. It is also what we call an immature, fledgling, new ecosystem. VR and AR, it's felt like they've been around for a while, but actually not that long, okay? The Oculus Dev Kit 1 was released in 2012. And the public was able to access it in 2012. 10 plus years is usually kind of a long time for technology, but the thing about XR is that it has kept evolving and changing quite a bit. We have quite a few manufacturers in the space. We have a lot of platform holders kind of vying to be the best. And the scene for XR is still very immature. What happened here is that a proliferation of different VR and AR devices, different brands, different APIs, different libraries, different technologies, means there's just not that much consolidation. There's a lot of different avenues you can take to development in XR, and all of them are thus not super mature yet. Do you see all of these different options up here? If you want to do augmented reality, you have to make a choice over which of these you're going to use. Some of them you may have heard of. Apple's AR Kit, Google's AR Core. But Snapchat also has their Lens Studio platform for AR. Meta has their Spark AR platform. There's something called Eighth Wall. Huawei has their own AR engine, so does Vuforia. They used to be a really big one. I haven't heard about them recently, though. Wikitude and Zappar are also there, and all of these AR technology platforms have a different set of features. Which one will you choose? And you'd better be careful, because what happens if you choose Eighth Wall and oops, they don't end up winning. They end up dying on the vine, outcompeted by something else. What do you have to do? Yeah, your product either has to move to something else, super expensive, very costly, or you are going to die on the vine with Eighth Wall. All right? So you have to be very careful. This is kind of the telltale sign of a kind of an immature ecosystem. There are a lot of options, and that's a good thing, but maybe there are too many options, and not all of them are going to make it in the long term. So the AR ecosystem, the VR ecosystem, they are very immature still. The high hardware costs kind of prevent people from getting in, and that prevents a lot of programmers from finding issues, and if they don't find the issues, they don't get solved. So fewer developers means there's going to be more bugs, there's going to be more friction, okay? That means there's also going to be kind of slower market adoption. And that kind of creates a vicious cycle, right? VR and AR are hard to develop for, and so fewer people develop for AR and VR, which means it remains hard to develop for. The result of all of this, the TLDR, the main takeaway, is that whenever you are working on a new technology and a new tech ecosystem, you're always going to have some pain and friction that you wouldn't experience otherwise, all right? You're going to have higher highs, but you're going to also have lower lows when you're developing, okay? You are going to be trying to make a really interesting, beautiful, impactful AR app, and you're going to have nights where the damn thing won't build an Xcode, and you have an obscure error that wasn't there last week that you can find one, 5-year-old forum post addressing, but it doesn't fully fix the issue, and you don't quite know what's going on, all right? This is the kind of error that you run into in these sorts of situations, okay? One question to ask is development actually physically possible in your situation? And For mobile development, the answer is almost certainly yes, okay? Most of us have the hardware that we need or can access it easily on campus to do the development we need for our mobile AR devices. But for VR, almost certainly we're going to have to access these campus resources. Most of us don't have access to an expensive, high-quality VR headset, and we have a lot of them in this room. The Viz Studio is going to help us out a lot here. When you are doing your assignments, this is a very helpful tool, the XR Platform Pain Matrix. Depending on your combination of laptop and mobile device, certain assignments will be easier or harder for you. I wish it weren't true, but it is. This is the matrix that helps you decide what's going to be hard and what's going to be easy, and what you should do if it is super hard. If you have a Windows device and an Android device, so you're kind of a non-Apple person, how many of you are in that category? Okay, Windows and Android, okay? Your life is nice, okay? Very nice. For VR assignments, you are totally good to go, all right? You don't really have any problems. You either can use your personal VR equipment or, you might win the VR equipment lottery. Otherwise, you would come in and use these wonderful headsets in here. You're good for both VR and AR assignments. If you have a Windows machine, a very popular combination, a very painful combination, a Windows laptop and an iOS device, if you are me, how many of you are me? Yes? You have a bit of a more painful situation, okay? For VR assignments, you are good to go. But for AR assignments, you're going to have to find a way to access Xcode, okay? You just have to. You need a Macintosh with Xcode in order to build an app for an iPhone. That means you're probably going to want to use the Groundworks laboratory right across the hall, which I'll talk about more in a bit. If you are a Macintosh user with Android, it's a pretty good combination. However, Macintosh doesn't really do VR development, okay? Windows is the primary place to do development for virtual reality and Unreal Engine. And so you'll need to use these machines in here, or you'll need to acquire a Windows machine somehow to make those assignments an easy thing. For AR, it's going to be super easy for you, okay? Unity works extremely well on Macintosh, and you have Xcode right there. Should be a piece of cake, all right? If you have Mac and iOS or Mac and Android, it's the same situation. You can build Android apps from your Mac. It's a good stuff. If you use Linux, I have no advice for you, but you don't need any, okay? You are used to pain in many different forms, and so you're going to figure it out, I'm sure. And good luck. Let me know how it goes. If you want any advice on what kind of machine to maybe acquire, you probably want something. If you want to acquire a development machine, just make sure it has a decent graphics card and you should be okay. All right. For Android and iOS developers, you might need to go into your phone and adjust the settings so that you can deploy your apps to it. Usually there's a developer mode that you have to turn on in the settings. Sometimes it's hidden, and that will allow you to deploy your apps to your devices. Okay. The Viz Studio is an incredible space. The staff here works very hard, as Nikki walks by in the back, works super hard to make this space work for you. It has tremendous pros to be working in here. You have good hardware, like really good hardware, totally at no cost to you. You have very special hardware, a lot of great headsets that are maintained by the wonderful staff here. I'll also add, it's not even up here, I'll add, there is very often a person at the front desk who is here literally sitting there waiting for a question from you, okay? So please ask them. It's like office hours, extra office hours whenever they're in the room. Many of them know Unreal Engine and Unity as well and might be able to give you some advice with the software side of things. But this space has very nice 24/7 access. You should be able to scan your M card on the lock, on the door, and get in anytime you want. You have a good place for office hours. It's usually pretty quiet in here, and plenty of space to walk around and do HoloLens stuff, VR stuff, AR experiments, whatever you need. There are some downsides to this laboratory, and the more you know about them, the less painful they are. There's a really odd storage situation, like how these machines handle their data, their hard drive, networking, virtualization. And the way that you launch software on these machines is a little bit weird. I've had a lot of students say, oh, the Unreal Engine isn't on the machines. Well, that's true because you need to tell an application on there to pull Unreal Engine over, and then it's on the machine. And it only takes a few moments, but it's kind of strange. There's also travel distance issues. A lot of people don't enjoy coming to North Campus to do office hours. I don't blame you. I've been told hygiene is bad in here. Like, I think that's a meme, though, from Reddit, like computer science students just being kind of stinky. I have not found that to be the case. And there are limits to the sound you can get in here and other equipment, okay? I want to talk about these two. These two are the biggest right here. As you look at files on this machine, these machines in front of you, you're going to notice that something weird about them, okay? When you look at the paths of many of the files, you're going to see weird networked paths. Like enginelabs.mstorage.umich.edu, that is a web URL. Okay, you don't usually see those in local file system paths. What's happening is that some of the drives and folders on these machines are networked. Okay, they are virtualized, they're fake. When you write data to them, you are writing that data and sending it across the network to a remote server where it will be stored for you. In some ways, this is awesome. For most of what we're doing in this course, it's a disaster. Okay, very nasty. I'll tell you why in a moment. Okay, virtualization is super good for security and decentralized computing. You can get files across campus very quickly. It's very nice for that. But many applications go crazy when you accidentally use networked locations on your device. Unreal Engine does not like networked locations. Sometimes it won't even consider them valid pathways. If you put in a certain location, if you browse and select a folder, it'll be like, whoa, this isn't real. I'm not letting you put your project here. Other times, it will let you put it there, but it will be extremely slow and buggy, okay? Unreal Engine doesn't like networked virtualized parts of your hard disk. It doesn't like those paths. In general, you want to use a C drive location. And in the Windows Explorer, you can always click at the top of the little Explorer bar, and it will tell you whether you're on the N drive, stands for networked, or the C drive, the one you're used to, that is the local drive. That's a good place to put projects. That is the local hard disk that is in the box right there in front of you, not networked at all. Problem, the C drives get automatically wiped clean every few days, okay? So you do not want to store anything important on those drives long term, right? This is what you're hoping for. The Windows C drive, this is a good place to put things. You should find your unique name in there as a user, and you can store things under there if you want to. Okay, so it's also not synchronized and networked to all the machines. So if you put a project on the C drive on that machine right there, you need to go back to that machine the next day if you want to find it and hope that it hasn't been wiped yet. Problem. What do you do if you come in to do work and someone is using that machine that you need? What do you do? Fight them? No. No, you probably be sad, okay? And come up with a better solution. And there are some much better solutions. A really obvious, kind of annoying, kind of slow one, but simple one, is to have a flash drive. Okay, and ferry data between machines via that flash drive. You can put your entire project folder onto that drive and boom, you can now move it between machines. Not a great solution though. Your projects will have partners, and it's really annoying to have to go find your partner and physically hand them a flash drive if you want them to keep working, okay? Not good. One solution would be to use something like Git version control. And that is something we're going to recommend you do in this course. Version control is a really good solution. You can push your projects up to the cloud, and you can have it in some cloud, probably somewhere in Iowa. And when you finish your work for the day, whatever machine you're on, push your changes to the cloud. And then the next day, if you come in, whatever machine you end up at, clone your project back down. Your partner can do this as well. The big tip for partner projects in this course, Unreal Engine isn't very good at merging Git conflicts, okay? And neither is Unity. And so the kind of cleanest way to deal with this is try not to be working on the project when your partner is. That way, any changes your partner make, you can pull them down when you start working, and there will be no merge conflicts at all. If you need to be working at the same time, try and communicate so you're not building the same feature, because that increases the chances that you are altering files that your partner is also changing, and so you'll have a conflict, all right? GitHub Desktop is one of the finest programs of the last decade, in my opinion. Have you heard of this program? How many of you use Git, but you don't really fully understand it, you feel? It's a little bit, it's kind of wishy-washy. How many of you run into merge conflicts and you just start to struggle bus it, right? It's very painful, it's very scary. I've been using Git forever. I still stink at it, okay? And GitHub Desktop is a fully fledged UI tool that takes Git and the common Git operations you use, committing, pushing, pulling, fetching, merging even, authentication, and it really solves a lot of problems. It helps you manage and visualize your changes much more easily, your diffs. It is exceptional. I encourage you to use it instead of the Git terminal. You can learn that later if you need to use Git in hardcore programmatic fashion. Use GitHub Desktop. It is on all these machines. It is phenomenal. It comes with its own version of Git, so you don't have to worry about dependencies and stuff. It is really, really, really good stuff. Very, very nice. Okay. Software has some limitations. You need to log into the Apps Anywhere web page. There's a link on the desktop for all these machines. You'll search for the apps that you want to deploy and run, and then you can click the launch button to launch them. And if you think this launches them, it doesn't. Okay? The launch button doesn't mean launch. What it actually does is it pulls down the data for that application and installs it locally. Then another window pops up and you have to double click that to actually launch it, okay? So it's a bit of a lie. There are a lot of engine versions for Unity and Unreal, but be very careful to choose the latest. For Unreal Engine, that is 5.6, okay? That's the latest version you'll find. It's a good version, but you need to be very careful, okay? Because if you make a project in Unreal 5.6 and then go home, what is the actual latest version of Unreal that you'll find on the website in the installer? Do you know? It's 5.7.1. If you make a project in 5.6 here and then take it home and try and run your laptop version, which is 5.7.1, bad news, okay? It's not going to work. You're going to have to install 5.6 on your laptop or your home computer to keep working. What's more, if you create a project at home using Unreal 5.7.1, and then you try and bring it in here, which only has 5.6, you're dead, okay? You're restarting your project. If you start your project on 5.6, but your team member only has access to 5.7, you can't work together, okay? You have to change it. Someone has to install something else. I encourage you to only use 5.6 in this course, because if you use 5.6, you can always come to the Viz Studio to continue working. If you use anything else, that is not necessarily true. So be careful, okay? Be very careful. All right, blah, 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 blah. Small annoyances. Unreal can take a long time to start up. That first launch, 10 plus minutes. In our first semester ever of this course, it was like 40 minutes. My goodness, Unreal Engine 5.0.0 was a bit of a disaster. You're gonna see this loading screen for quite a while. This starter content checkbox, you can uncheck it if you want to, and it will speed up your launch times by quite a bit. When you try and use a headset for the first time, sometimes you're going to get into Unreal Engine and the headset you can't launch your project with the headset. The headset is grayed out. You can't use it. What's going on? Well, sometimes you need to put the headset on and you'll see something like this. Oh, we've not run the app you wanted us to run because it's an unknown developer. So you actually have to log into the Meta Horizon app. It used to be the Oculus app. Now it's called Meta Horizon, I think. You log in with your Facebook account or whatever, and then you can allow these kind of apps to run, and then you can do your work, okay? What an annoying little thing. You're going to have to create a bunch of accounts this week if you haven't started yet. It's kind of annoying, but you don't have to create them a second time, which is good. Random crashes can happen on Unreal. It's crashing a lot less than it used to, which is really good news, but if it does crash, it'll look like this, okay? Privacy PSA. When you log in, if you ever log into these devices, you will not be logged out automatically when you put the headset down, okay? If you have logged into your Facebook account, that's Meta, right? You log into a Meta account for some reason to run something, do not leave yourself logged in because there are messages that the next person who puts that headset on will be able to read. And we've had incidences in the past where our students have logged in with some extra spicy content just sitting right there for the next student to read and the staff to read, okay? You don't want to scar them like that, okay? So please, log out of your accounts in here if you do log into them so that we won't be reading your DMs, all right? And in general, be careful about any piece of content you put out there digitally. You'd better assume that it's going to become public at some point, okay? All right, this may sound like a lot, but remember, anytime a new technology comes out, there's going to be that friction. In the early days, oh my goodness, you don't know how good we have it these days. In the early days, my goodness, if you wanted to run any program, right, you had punch cards, you had to physically interact with media in order to write a simple basic program. Then you had to queue it up and wait for like an hour because that computer is running like 5 other nerds' programs before yours, okay? And then, oops, you accidentally had a typo or you had a bug, and now you need to go do another punch card, okay? What a huge pain. But those are the engineers that changed history, and by making small innovations when they had so little competition, so few had the knowledge they had, they were able to really make an impact, okay? So I have a question for you. Anyone know what this is right here? The game engine architecture students know this. The 494 students know this. You know what this is? This is the number of games released on itch.io, a popular game distribution platform, on February 18th of 2021, before 3 p.m. that day. Hundreds of games release every single day, okay? The game development market is saturated, and I know the pain of this. That's my game buried in there, all right? It is impossible. Not impossible, but it's very hard to stand out as a general purpose game developer and game designer in 2025, okay? My friend Nathan Hainish once said, modern game dev often feels like yelling into the void. No matter how cool what you have to say is, no matter how you say it, you're still yelling into the void. It's very hard to stand out, all right? So there is nothing bleeding edge about indie game development. The engines are incredible. The development experience is smooth as butter. There are many hundreds of thousands of game designers and developers out there making games for fun every day. Thus, the competition is massive. It is super hard to stand out. It's very hard to have an impact. You can still do it, okay? Our 494, our game engine architecture students are doing it, but it's extremely difficult, okay? Quick story time, then we'll let you go. In 2015, I'm in San Francisco. I'm working in electronic arts. Cool thing about San Francisco, every single day of the week, there's a new tech hackathon happening. Some new hardware coming out, some new library or software or package or something. And it's just part of the magic of being in the San Francisco tech scene. I'm working at EA, and I decided to do the Samsung Gear VR hackathon. This is a new virtual reality platform. It is a really accessible and cheap one. The basic idea is that Samsung is going to give you this device right here, but it has no computing power in it. You take your phone, you run special Samsung software, and you pop it onto the end of your headset. And the phone is going to be the processor. The phone CPU, the phone GPU, it's going to split the screen in half, and then it's going to alter what you see on each half of the screen, and then that's going to be your lens. Pretty cool, huh? Well, this was a hackathon that had 10 grand. in prizes for first place. Ooh, that's pretty good, right? Let's see if we can snag some of that. Well, this was a 24-hour hackathon, and oh my goodness, the Gear VR had just launched a week prior, and the software was a disaster. Oh my gosh, the APIs, the plugins for Unity that you had to use to try and make this work, complete disaster. We couldn't figure out how to get it to work. In fact, no one could get it to work. We couldn't even run our game. We couldn't build our software and get it working on the headset. And we fought and we fought and we fought. We went back to EAHQ, and I remember it was night, it was dark, everyone had gone home, and we were just grinding, trying to figure out, poke and prod it. How do we get this darn thing to work? The engineers on site couldn't get it working for us. And then after about 16 hours of just like bashing our heads against it, we hacked it and figured out how to get it working. And our game ran on the headset, and it was like the heavens opened up, okay? And we were exhausted. We slept like 1 or 2 hours and then rushed back. We got Unity and the plugin for Gear VR working, but we had no game. We got nothing, okay? And we pounded out a game in 4 hours. I want to show you the game. It's Cube Runner Chaos, okay? Oh, I've got music going on. What's going on? And where's the music coming from? There we go. Danganronpa, cool. All right, that's what it felt like, that music, to finish the hackathon. We're rushing to finish this game. Here's what it looked like in the laptop version, okay? You're chasing a UFO constantly running, and you can tap your temple on the side of your headset to shoot things out of the way. This is what it looked like. When you touch an object, you die, and we did something very mean to you when you die. Imagine this happening with a headset on. We also stole the Pirates of the Caribbean music, too. Okay, so you're dodging, you're running, you're dodging, you're looking around with the headset on. You're shooting objects out of the way. Like this, boom, like that. Okay, you're dodging stuff, it's dropping more stuff. Oh! Oh. Imagine that happening to you in VR. Puke, right? Instant puke. And yeah, the judges pretty much instantly puked, okay? What a crappy project, okay? We should be embarrassed to put that thing out there. When the judges were playing it, I was feeling like, oh my gosh, like they're going to run us out of the room, okay? We'll never be invited back, and we won. We won. We won the whole thing. We won all 10 grand. You know why? It wasn't even close. You know why? Not a single of our opponents had managed to get their software building and running. The plugin that gave us 16 hours of hell also took out all of our competition. All of it. We were the only survivors. And so we won the whole pot. And that's the thing about friction, right? It is not pleasant, and you'd really prefer it isn't there. But the friction is always there when you are kind of a pioneer. When you are on the bleeding edge of something, you're going to have an uncomfortable experience. By definition, you are walking through the nasty, wooded, thorned part of the local park. You're not walking on the cement, beautiful, curated path. But of course, you don't find anything interesting on the cement curated path, okay? You find the interesting stuff when you go off the road, when you go into the woods, all right? When you start to deal with the thorns and worry about getting a bit lost. That's when you find everything special, when you're off the beaten path, all right? And so we ended up winning that 10 grand, and unfortunately for us, at the end they said, you've won your 10 grand worth of JavaScript bootcamp scholarship money. Oh, you lied to us. And we were very salty about that. I couldn't make use of that. I already knew JavaScript. But fortunately, actually about 2 grand of that money was in Amazon gift cards, which is as good as cash. Okay, like that is almost cash. And so the takeaway here is that we ended up winning because we were at the bleeding edge and we fought through the friction. Okay, so consider the opportunity provided to you when you are going through difficult challenges like this. When that nasty compiler bug and the obscure error show up to try and delay you, know that all of your competition is dealing with the same thing. And if you don't fight through, no one will enjoy the benefits of what you're working on. Okay? All those early adopters, the pioneers, right, the people fighting these nasty issues, like you're going to encounter some of them, are the only ones who can deliver us that killer app for the new technology. And if you can't make it through, if you can't fight your way through, then the killer app never shows up and the technology turns into 3D TV. That's how it goes. It dies. All right, maybe we can try again in a few decades. We're here as a course staff to try and help you through those issues, but we can't find them all. Every year, new versions of software come out, new issues come with them. When you run into these issues, post them on Discord and Piazza. We'll try our best to help you. Bring them to office hours. We'll help you fight through them. But a big part of this course is going to be debugging. Hopefully it won't be too bad. But if it is bad, know that you're fighting the good fight, and there are going to be some rewards for that. Okay? And so, final tips for you. Try and use personal devices if you can, but the Visual Studio is really great. The equipment lottery might be a thing. Apply that if you can. Don't be afraid of the Vis Studio. Get version control and get going, especially on your projects. Very nice for ferrying data back and forth. There are some git ignores that you should use for Unity and Unreal. Otherwise, you will upload things like these folders, and you will blow up your repo right away. Please settle on one version of Unity and Unreal. Try and use 5.6 for everything if you can, and start your assignments as soon as you can, okay? Have no shame in requesting help. Make sure you reach out after about 15 minutes of being delayed, okay? Be good to the Visual Studio staff, and make sure you use Groundworks right around the way if you need them for Macintosh stuff. They are super nice. They got all the stuff you need, but they too get wiped, all right? So use version control or put your stuff on a flash drive, and you won't lose your stuff. Everyone, sorry for going a little bit over today. My tangents just get us in trouble, don't they? I'll try and clamp down on those in the future, but it is fun to tell stories. Everyone, I will be here from 6 to 8 p.m. tonight with the HoloLens devices. I will also have them, I think, on Wednesday morning, but not Wednesday afternoon or any time after that. So please enjoy the HoloLens devices tonight if you can. Otherwise, you'll lose a few points on Exploration AR. Not the end of the world. All right? Okay. We'll see you later, everyone. See you on Wednesday. Okay. Everyone online, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.